See how it leaks when I hit the air.
God damn it. Fucking focus keywords.
Focus, fuck you.
Fuck us, fuck you. Okay. Nate, did you get the Google thingy, the document I sent you?
I did.
Cool. Just so you can at least read the news if you haven't.
Yeah, I did.
Cool.
While people were paying me at work.
Isn't that the greatest?
Yeah.
We were talking in our Slack channel about how much work everyone does for podcasts, and I'm like, you guys don't get it. Like, I just do a lot of this at work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I have some downtime at work, I'll just do shit. Like, it's fucking America.
Amen, sister.
Wait, what?
Hmm?
Yeah, you know what you've done. Cool. All right. If you guys are ready, we can start this.
Let's do it.
Cool. Welcome to episode 68 of the Podcast of Terror, production of the Galactic Network. This is a podcast about all things scary. I'm your host, Matt Stein. With me, as always, is Corey Big Dick Scott. Corey, how are you?
That sounds like I've got like 9 names. I don't even think it's implied anything about my anatomy. It's just like Big Dick Scott. He's just a big trucker driving down the highway.
God, if you go on a serial killer rampage, can you be the Big Dick Scott killer?
I'd have to find a lot of guys named Scott who are ample.
Yes, you have to murder Scots with big dicks. This motherfucker only wants to kill
Scottish people.
Well,
because at least if they're wearing kilts, it'll make it easier for me to determine if
Sir,
they're worth my time.
Can I take a look at your penis real quick?
I was going to say, how do you find out if it's the right kind of Scott, if you know what I mean?
They volunteer. They're like vegans. They're just excited to share the information.
I don't know if you know this, but I got a huge dick.
I suppose.
Also, I don't eat gluten. I just can't.
I live a gluten-free fat dick lifestyle.
I don't want to shit when I'm wearing a kilt because there's nothing to stop it.
Boy. For more on this podcast, including show notes, contact information, subscription links, you can go to gncast.com/pot. You can share us on our Slack channel during our shows at gncast.com/signup. While you're there, you can subscribe to our newsletter as well. We spoil things. We're going to spoil Krampus this week. If you haven't seen it, you can go to, if you're listening to this, there's a show page. There's a link. You can buy it through Amazon. We get part of that money. It's Christmas. Give us your money.
You don't actually give us money. I mean, it's amazing how that works. You don't notice the difference. You're just buying it from Amazon, and Amazon's like, hey, these guys referenced the thing, so we're going to give them a little slice, but it never affects what you're buying. So
it's like eating pie at Christmas, but it doesn't make you fatter.
Yeah, it's like the fucking human centipede. It's like you're eating the pie, and then we're just getting pie shit coming out of you. We're like second or third in line. I want to be third.
Corey has gone there.
It's like if your name was Scott and you had a small dick, then nothing's going to happen to you.
You're not going to die. Big dick
better have some
Scott killer
Scott,
will not kill you.
You ain't my type otherwise.
Oh boy. Oh yeah. Corey wants us to point out that we have potty mouths.
Welcome to the show.
I should start putting that at the beginning. Like, warning, we swear. And before we talk about dicks. Anyways, joining us this week to talk about dicks, returning for a sexy second helping, our good friend and the man who makes throat sounds for our band, Drawn Lifeguard, Nathan Forcey. Nate, how are you?
I'm good. And Rounds and Breakdowns.
That's true.
My podcast, too.
It's true. It's going to be coming back.
It is.
We're going to make that shit happen.
With a couple new people, because Matt doesn't like fist fighting anymore.
I fucking hate fist fighting. I'm all about flowers and living a gluten-free lifestyle. I don't know if you guys know this, but I don't eat gluten anymore.
Do you wear kilts?
I had one, and then I got fat. It didn't fit anymore.
I've had one since I've been fat, so it kind of worked out.
My parents actually got me one from Ireland when I was a kid. So I also went through puberty and got fat. So
Rich kid problems.
Yeah, right. I don't think they're that expensive. So
yeah, but your parents went to Ireland when you were a kid.
That's true.
My parents went to West Dallas.
I'm sure my parents went to West Dallas too.
Driving through to get to Brookfield.
If you're not from Wisconsin, if you're not from Wisconsin, you don't get this. Brookfield's pretty close to White Bread Bay, or Whitefish Bay. You know, they're all rich suburbs of Milwaukee. Speaking of being fat, I forgot to point out that I'm drinking a Neapolitan ice cream beer. Yeah.
You've been into those lately. That's the second show in a row, I think, where you've been drinking one of those.
Probably. They're so good. Tastes like ice cream, and I get drunk.
Who makes that?
Oh God, it's from Michigan.
Is that one of your indie beers? I listen to Taking Back Sunday and drink beer kind of beers.
Fuck yeah, man.
Gotcha.
Saugatuck Brewing Company.
That just sounds like a dirty phrase right there.
Yeah, I don't think you said it right. I don't know how it's said, but I don't think that's how it is. Saugatuck.
It's
You're not trying to say Saginaw, are you?
I fucking know how to. I hate you so much right now, Corey. I know how to say Saginaw, you son of a bitch. It's a city. It's a city in Michigan. Corey, you should know this.
Yeah, because that's what I do. Is I just fucking travel around the mitt in a place that I haven't lived at for half my life. But yeah, sure.
Oh, it is okay. It is.
All.
It is in the mainland. It's just south of Holland, north of South Haven.
Oh, I do know Holland.
Okay, I just got lucky by saying the first name that popped up on Google Maps. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. It's good beer. Nate, I'll try and remember to bring you one.
Thanks.
It's pretty new. And you can make fun of me for liking it because you drink Guinness. And
Or
Coors.
he can human centipede it to you.
You just pour a little bit in my butthole and then you got to suck it out. You know that's called there's a thing called felching where if you blow it in a guy's butthole and then you suck it out with a straw. That's a real thing.
I didn't know about the straw, but I've definitely heard the phrase before.
Well, it's difficult to get a real good suction on mouth to butthole to like extract all of that sweet jizz.
Maybe for you.
All right, Corey.
That's it for me.
Yeah, all right. We just lost Nate. Oh God. Well,
hey, welcome friends with Matt for way too long to not expect this type of behavior.
Corey really sometimes brings out the worst in me, though.
The best into you.
The best in me.
By the way, I have friends from the Slumber Party podcast group that I'm in on Facebook. Amazing people in that group. And somebody asked recently if anybody in the group themselves does podcasts. And so there are some people who might be now listening to the show for the first time.
Oh, boy. There's just a message to be like, Corey, why do you know so much about sucking jizz out of a butthole?
I read a lot.
I read a lot. Really into
Dear Pet House
fanfic.
Do you honestly think they're still listening by now?
I don't know. I mean, they're really cool people. So. And George and Allie, who do Slumber Party podcasts, can get pretty crazy too.
Okay.
So we'll see. I just wanted to say welcome. Thanks, Gabby.
I have no friends that listen to this. Well, I have one friend, but he's on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go back and listen to this.
Nate's like, oh, Matt just said he has no friends. Fuck you, click.
No, I was actually kind of like, yeah, cool. The gig is up, man. Cat's out of the bag.
I don't have to. You invited me to
Who
New
told
Orleans.
you, Matt?
He's like, I don't have to have you on my podcast either anymore. So
fucker in the pussy. Now let's get into our news before we really get off the rails. There's not a whole lot, so they're kind of grasping at straws here, but I'm excited. My nipples are hard, maybe because it's kind of cold in here, but The Last of Us Part 2, there was a trailer that was finally released. It looked kind of sexy. I don't know if either of you played the first one.
No, I don't have any current gen gaming systems. I'm still on the PS3 and the Xbox.
The first one came out on PS3, and then they re-released it on the 4 remastered.
That makes sense.
Yeah, at least I think so. I could have just completely lied to you.
No gaming company will ever release a game that they're willing to re-release a second time with enhanced graphics, in quotation marks.
Yeah. I didn't buy I wasn't fooled by the remastered version, but Nate, I don't think you played it, did you?
You know, man, I don't play a whole lot of the, first person type games and that kind of stuff. Because I guess I'm not a fucking dork, but if I was, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I did. No, I actually did watch it. I just don't have the time, man. I mean,
that's true. Nate is an adult with children.
Yeah. Well, I still play games though, man. I'm just.
But it's a hell of a lot easier, and I play sports games too. But it's a lot easier to sit down and play, a game of football and stop than to sit down and crack away at a 12-hour video game story in tiny chunks. So I get it.
I did watch the thing that you said that sent over the link or whatever for the trailer. Mm-hmm. It was really slick. It makes me look at some of those games. I don't look at a whole lot of them and just be like, not to sound like the old guy, but like, damn, man, they've really come so far in these kind of games and stuff like that with how they, not just graphically, but just like how they're put together and everything, how elaborate the stories are and everything like that.
Yeah, it's the storytelling part that really stands out. I mean, this kind of, I don't know anything about the gameplay of the game, but all I've seen from the scenes of the first one and from this one, it reminds me of the Telltale Games company that puts out things that it's kind of like the cinematic features that you get in Final Fantasy, where Final Fantasy, so much of it is just playing through the bullshit parts to get to see the movie portion of it. Mm-hmm. Jack and Dan were just talking on 90th Percentile this week's episode about games like this, where they'll play a game and it's more fun with their girlfriends or their wives to like have the game be something that they can watch, and then they can kind of play through it, and it's like they're watching a movie together, except at some points you have to mash buttons. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. My wife would probably be less interested in that and more interested in actually playing the game herself, but she's told me before she can't play games that are scary because they freak her out. She just, as much as she likes horror movies, she can't be in control in those kinds of situations. So she would probably enjoy me playing this and her being able to watch it.
Yeah, it's a super fun game. It's by Naughty Dog, who also did Uncharted. So the game style and the gameplay are both really similar, but it's a zombie game, but it's not a zombie game where you run into a room and you try and kill everybody. The point is that you don't have shit, because in a real actual zombie apocalypse, you're not going to have shit. So you have to be really choosy about the zombies that you do kill and the ones that you just kind of move around and get away from.
So is this a zombie game?
Zombie as a loose term, yes. There's infected people, but it's like a fungal disease, and like their heads fucking open up and stuff. Big plants go like that.
So it's a little Silent Hill kind of in the creatures.
Yeah, yeah. But you play as two people. It's Ellie and Joel. Ellie's a little girl, and Joel's an older man, and you're trying to get away. It's been a long time since I played the game, and that was a lot of years ago, so I forgot the actual, like, the real details of the story, but yeah. There's one part where you're running around with a bow and arrow as the little girl, and it was pretty fucking sweet.
And right there is part of the thing that kind of pulls you into it too, is that it's a father and daughter. And I mean, zombie apocalypse is already scary enough, but when you're trying to survive it and protect that other person who is your whole world, that makes it that much more important of like what the things that you do. You can't just rush out there and kill things. You can't just kind of like freak out and decide I'm just going to run into the horde and say fuck it and see what happens. It's like there's someone there who's relying on you. So it as an emotional connection, it seems like it would be pretty cool to play through that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the second one. I haven't been able to find like a solid release date. That is, I have a wife. I don't need a date.
Don't you think with a lot of these games they need to start kind of going past the whole we're the last people left and there's everyone else is either a zombie, a vampire, sick infected person, or something like this though? Or am I just
No, not at all.
I feel like I was laughing are that way nowadays.
I was laughing because of what our next story is. About how you're like, we got to get past that, and the next one's just another
Resident
story
Evil.
about it. Which I agree. See, I also don't like playing a ton of horror games because they scare the shit out of me, which is their entire point. So I guess it's cool as fuck. But people are still super balls deep about the whole like zombie apocalypse shit. Like The Walking Dead is still huge as fuck, and like I said, Resident Evil 7, which is the next story, they put out another trailer. I played the first demo for it, and it's insane because the graphics are intense, and it's first person instead of third, and I don't know, there's creepy fucking shit happening, but I don't know. It's called Biohazard. It doesn't, like I said, it's first person. You get weapons. So you get pistols. They're bringing guns back, which I don't know if some of the middle ones had.
And you play as characters are the members of the band Biohazard, right?
You can play as Evan, what's his face, who
Seinfeld,
banged that.
yeah.
Evan Seinfeld, yeah, who was married to one of my favorite porn stars. And then she got weird.
Probably she's married to the guy from Biohazard. Now, this is the opposite of The Last of Us, though, because this is very extreme characters and over-the-top weaponry and stuff where they are armed to the teeth, fighting giant mutated zombie-like creatures. I mean, I'm going mostly based off of the movies, which got weirder and weirder, and strangely, I think went towards the game more as they went on. They started introducing other characters who were from the game later in the films, but
well, 5 and 6 were more they were third person, and they were more like get as many guns and kill everything as you can. And I think 7's going away from that. It's more puzzle solving and quote unquote resource management. Quick time events is also mentioned in here too.
Now, Matt, you and I talk a lot about when we're doing our score system, which is going to alter this episode. Little forewarning there. But when we rate things on the scariness of movies, we have a problem being scared by a lot of these films we watch now. Yeah. But the tension, because it's a game, amps up. And so I think it fills that spot that we can't get from just watching a movie anymore, because you're actually involved in it in some way. It makes it not necessarily scary so much, but it ups the tension so much that it gives you the kind of same effect of getting your heart pumping.
Yeah, it's easier when watching a movie to kind of distance yourself. You can separate yourself from what's happening. But a video game, you have to be like balls deep, paying attention, like noticing your surroundings. And I think that's awesome, but it's also terrible because it scares the shit out of me.
So do you guys get more scared then by the game than you do by the movies? Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, a game, you're fully invested in it. Yeah. And it's not like I can sit there and play a video game and be dicking around on my phone or on my computer at the same time, or walk in the other room and grabbing snacks. And that's
or the thing. Or just cover your head or cover your face or just turn away and just be like, this is freaking me out. So, yeah.
And that's why games, I think, have grabbed the attention more as we've put the value down on movies and even TV, is that games, one, they're a bigger investment, but you are actively a part of it. And it's just so easy to just like ignore what's going on your screen otherwise, because we got too many goddamn screens.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was busy checking my phone.
Yes.
See what I did there? Oh, fine.
You can magnify your penis all you want. It's not really. I
got this really awesome dick pic app. No love for dick pic apps. Okay, then. No, talking about games, though, I played, like I said, I did the Resident Evil 7 demo, and then there was an Outlast 2 demo, and I was playing that in the middle of the day and screamed. It's like something fucking popped out of nowhere and shit got cray. So if you want a good time, you can just watch me play video games and scream like a girl. Or
I mean, isn't that sort of what Twitch is built on? Twitch and YouTube is a bunch of these gamer people. We're playing these games for people, and then it's seeing them freak out that is causing people to tune in more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I can't say I've really watched one. I think that for me, the games have never, and now granted, I like I said, I haven't played them like you guys have, but there's that artificiality to it that kind of keeps me from getting kind of really scared, because I constantly know that this is a video game because it's a game. You know what I mean? I
feel like I should specify that I'm not like scared, like I can't sleep. I'm worried something's going to get me scared.
Right.
It's that
I didn't think that.
It's that like jump scares get me easier because I'm so focused on what's happening that when something jumps out that I'm not expecting, it gets me. Whereas in a movie, like Corey said, you're kind of half paying attention because you're looking at your phone, you're on your computer.
Jump scares I can see. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, because you're sitting there and all of a sudden you hear people reacting on the screen. You're like, look up. Oh shit, I should rewind this.
Yeah.
And completely takes you out of it, or you've taken yourself out of it. I'm trying to. I mean, with better stuff, at least I'm trying to pay more attention to what I'm watching now. I realize that there's so much shit that I watch is just filler anyways. But there's things that I'm like really trying to actively be into, like this season of Westworld, which just finished up last night, has been amazing TV, and I'm trying to like not have other things out and do other stuff while it's on. I'm trying to like not get distracted with conversations with my wife or answering emails or playing fucking Avengers Academy on my phone. It's like, no, I'm watching Westworld so I can really understand what's going on. And it's a deep story too, so it benefits from that. But a lot of the time it's like, well, here's the fucking rerun of Friends again that I've watched 100 times. Why am I going to actually pay attention to what's going on?
Right.
Look, Ross has shitty hair. Ross has always had shitty hair. That's just how it is.
Wow. Oh, boy. Let's move on the news here. Cinemax has picked up the series called Relic, which it's a killer series. Relic is killer backwards. I see what you did there, Cinemax. It's essentially just an original take on a serial killer tale, which seems to also be a big thing right now, with a little different twist. There seems to be this huge like focus on true crime. Like Making a Murderer came out this time last year, I believe. My wife and I are watching Killing Season, which is a A&E documentary or docu-series, I should say, about the Long Island serial killer. There's fucking podcasts up the wazoo about true crime. So this takes a scripted approach to kind of the same concept, which could be good, could be bad. True Detective season 1 was fucking amazing. And then the second one, I think I watched like 3 episodes and just stopped.
Yeah. I think it was the 3rd episode where I picked up my phone.
Yeah.
And didn't feel bad about it. This is also trying to compare itself to Dexter, which was a big hit for Showtime at some point. Mm-hmm. But it seems a little bit more like Memento because it's a serial killer story that's going to unfold in reverse. So it begins with the murders and then it spins the yarn backwards to show how the serial killer was created. It's from Sam Miller, who worked on Luther, is directing. And yeah, it could be pretty good. I really enjoyed a series that was on Cinemax in the last couple of years called Banshee. It was kind of like an amped up thing that's in the same vein as like Justified and Longmire, except it's Cinemax, so they have to show people banging every once in a while. But by the time it got through the final season, especially, they worked a lot of that stuff out of it, and it just became more about the characters and the story. I think they just knew that first season especially, they're like, this is what people expect from Cinemax, so let's throw that in there. But I was surprised at how much depth there was to it for being an over-the-top kind of action film where a guy who's gotten out of jail or basically escaped and is hiding in a false identity, disguises himself as the now sheriff of this small town and takes over, and all the shit in this town kind of comes to a head while he's there in this role. It was pretty solid. And so for that, and for the fact that it's the people who worked on Luther, which I hear is really good, I want to give this a shot.
Oh yeah, for sure. I will be watching it too. It sounded really creepy. I'm sorry, but not at all sorry.
So it's only like six episodes, right? So it's almost kind of like being taken off as more of like a mini series than kind of like something that there's going to be like seasons of and everything. I kind of gathered.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's definitely true. Which could be good, could be bad. But
I mean, it's the True Detective thing again. The True Detective thing.
Sure.
The season happened, and it was its own story. Fargo on FX has been like that, where they've had 2 seasons, but both stories took place at different times. Some of the characters cross over, but it's a finite tale that they're telling, and I think that is sometimes better because you get a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's also not all this filler in the way that causes you to just like, oh, how many episodes do we have to kind of slog through because they're not going to reveal everything yet.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I'm hoping it's really good. I mean, obviously I don't want things to suck, but unfortunately things suck sometimes.
It definitely happens. This was commissioned last year by BBC One, which it seems like it's following the BBC pattern. That makes me have a little bit more faith in it. But we'll have to see who pops in. Like, it's just being developed right now, but see who's going to be starring in it.
Yeah. It's not even in pre-production, so there's no release date, anything, no cast, nothing. Someday, I'm sure when we have it, we'll let you know because that's what we do. Let's do the last story here real quick. Sam Raimi, David Lynch, and Johnny Depp have helped a teen cancer patient make his zombie short, which I actually think is really fucking cool. It's the Make a Film Foundation, which launched in 2007. It sounds like Make-A-Wish, but they do solely film-based wishes for children with life-threatening medical conditions. I think it's really special, I guess, the fact that not only Sam Raimi, who's huge, he's one of the biggest, horror names that is still alive right now, but like Johnny Depp came to star in this zombie short that a young man has written. I don't know. I think it's fucking cool because these people are big enough that they just be like, man, what do I care? What do I really care?
What was David Lynch's role in this? Because I read the article too, but I didn't see what he was really doing. He didn't have any directing credits or anything like that. So is he just in the movie?
It was shot over 5 days, and Raimi, Hardwick, Ted Melfi, they all took turns in the director's chair. So Lynch may have possibly come in just to either add some more story to it, or it's possible that he was one of the directors on it. Or Lynch does some really cool cameo acting stuff in his own things, and he played it sort of essentially himself on the Cleveland show for a while, which was just a strange thing to keep seeing David Lynch pop up on that.
Yeah.
But it's great because there were people like Penelope Ann Miller, J.K. Simmons, Catherine Hardwick. There's a lot of really good people who came and were a part of this for a 6-year-old kid to get to make his dream of doing the zombie film. I can't imagine that this is something that people aren't going to be clamoring to see too. Like this is, you get that much talent involved.
Part of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's I do not know how to say the second word. It's Black Giondola,
which I think might be Italian for gland. It may have something to do. He may base it off of his own disease, actually. But
I bet the Google machine knows.
Let's hope so.
Fuck, that's not in English.
So how do you see these things?
I don't know. It doesn't say when it's
the
coming out
exocrine or the endocrine gland. It's when you translate the page, it translates to gland. Under
Gotcha.
Wikipedia.
It doesn't say anything about a release so far. The synopsis of Black Giondola is that a young man risks his life saving a young girl he has grown to love after his family has been killed during a zombie apocalypse. Sounds kind of similar to Maggie, but not. That was more of a father-daughter type situation. Who gets bit by a zombie? This is more just helping someone. But I definitely want to see this. So I'll have to keep figure out when the hell it's going to come out. I'm sure it'll be. I don't necessarily think it'll hit theaters, but I imagine a video on demand release.
I mean, it really sort of depends. It's a short film, so you're right. It probably won't hit theaters, but it could be something that's pay-per-view. It could be something that they just put out there for free to people, or maybe they request that you do a donation to the foundation, the Make a Film Foundation, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to do.
For sure.
I would definitely be interested in supporting this because it sounds like as a person who wants to see cool people make cool shit, I'm right there for it. But also you add into the fact of the charity aspect of it and doing something for, someone who's dealing with stage 4 adrenal cortical cancer.
Yeah. David Lynch is credited as playing the Man in Black.
Rock on.
So he's doing something.
I'm just a big David Lynch fan, so I was just curious to see what part he had in this one. That's cool. It's a great cause, man. It's really sick.
Okay.
I'd certainly be interested in knowing more about the foundation in general anyways.
I'd never heard about it until right now, so.
Makeafilmfoundation.org.
Mm-hmm. Check that shit out. That's going to do it for news. Corey, I would like you to do the honors of reading our newest feedback.
Can you destroy the name for me? Because my eyesight is terrible.
Mega Willamaster?
Mega Willamaster. That's actually a pretty cool handle.
If that's right and you're listening, let me know. If I'm wrong, let me know.
All right. So Mega Willamaster, we're just going to go with it, says, if you enjoy horror movies, this is an excellent show to check out. They give cool updates about new things in the world of horror, big and small, upcoming releases, kickstarts, etc. Matt and Corey have an excellent dynamic, and their guests are always fantastic. He must not have known that Nate was coming back on. The reviews are in-depth and interesting while running the full scope of horror cinema. Big budget films and B movies get discussed in a way that is always entertaining. Check it out. You'll only be disappointed when the episode is over. That is way too kind, and I assume that you were drinking Neapolitan beer because I don't know. I don't take praise well, but that is amazing. We really appreciate the feedback.
Yeah. Thanks, man. You know what really sucks is we use Google Docs to kind of do our show. You cannot copy text from iTunes and paste it. I have to retype these all out. That's dumb. iTunes, get your shit together and let me copy and paste fucking text.
iTunes would just assume that you not use anything Google related, so I'm sure that they don't feel bad about it at all.
No, they don't give a shit. Fuck. Apple could give a fuck about me. Let's go ahead and start our movie review. We did 2015's Krampus, as per the request of Nate, also to start our
Whoa.
Christmas season. I gave you a list of movies. You picked Krampus. It's yours.
You gave me a list of like 3 movies.
I think it was 5.
I think it was 3.
We're going to get to the bottom of this.
I think neither of you can count, so it's probably 7.
The only thing I said is it's got to be a Christmas movie. It's Christmas time.
You did.
Not
and I did.
And
I did pick Krampus. I had never seen it prior
we
to.
had done Christmas movies last year, too, so some had already been taken.
Let's see here.
Krampus.
Christmas movies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies. Suck it.
You were right
One of them
then.
was listed twice.
Yeah, I didn't say that 3 of the 5 were Krampus, but there were
And
5.
one of the 5 was any gay porn flick of your choice, and I did not think that was Christmas related, Matt. So that one does not count.
Even if the gay guys are wearing Christmas hats, it's still a Christmas movie.
Up on your backside. Yeah, so no, it's funny because I think we've had Krampus waiting to go for about a year. I think.
What the fuck just happened?
Corey won.
He did for sure.
So yeah, we've been looking forward to this, and I remember actually, I think we watched it last year, my wife and I, and I was not upset about having to see it again. So let's get into it.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Let's see, Adam Scott was in it. Who's he's in Step Brothers. He's the brother who gets pissed at his wife for singing flat.
Also was on.
He's in a lot of
Party
things.
Down, Party Down, Parks and Rec. Adam Scott is great at playing the super sarcastic guy in a lot of things. He's kind of like the meaner Paul Rudd to a certain degree. Toni Collette is in it. Conchata Ferrell from
Champ Kind. David Koechner.
David Koechner. David Koechner, who I say will never turn down a role ever, but is pretty solid in this. Alison Tolman, who was in that first season of Fargo, was incredible in that.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, so it's a really good cast, and it's more of a comedy cast than what I would have expected from what I thought this movie was going into it the first time.
It totally threw me off. I completely agree with you. I'm just saying when I saw the cat, what I had seen from the because all I'd really known about it was what I saw with the the trailers and whatnot, and it just seemed like it was supposed to be kind of a gory. At Christmas, this horrible thing called Krampus comes and fucks some people up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then right away starting to watch it and just the way the whole the intro was and everything else like that, and then seeing those characters come in, I thought the same thing. I was like, whoa, it threw me for a loop, kind of like in the first 5 minutes of the movie, where it was not at all what I had expected it to be. And
so the opening credits, the opening credits reminded me kind of Zombieland, because it's one of those things where they're showing scenes of Christmas happening in the opening credits, but it's all like really violent shit of like the Black Friday shopping and people just screaming at each other and arguing over the holidays and fighting in the malls, and then the kid in this Max winds up punching another kid at the Christmas pageant thing that he's doing, and the parents are trying to pull him off and stuff. It's got that Zombieland kind of feel of like when it opened, everybody was dying violently by the zombies, and this is just showing how Christmas is not going to be shown as a happy time in this movie. I thought that was a pretty effective way of opening up the film.
Yeah, I agreed.
Yeah, it did a good job of kind of explaining Krampus. Because I mean, like, everyone seems to know what Krampus is, but they don't seem to know what Krampus is.
I had no fucking clue. I had no clue. And then when I went into, after watching it and everything like that, I kind of wanted to see, is Krampus like a real thing? Like, what is this? And then reading about it
is.
Yeah, reading about it was kind of slick. It dates back like pre-religion and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Well, pre-Christianity religion. You know what I mean? And
much like Christmas.
Much like Christmas. And it was, ironically enough. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Although it's funny because, and I liked about it was that it still seems fucking mysterious though, doesn't it? Like, even when you look in the, like, just like your general Wikipedia, different things like that, it just kind of is all over the place about what it is. Obviously it's kind of like roots in Europe and in Germany and everything like that, but it's not like, they all kind of have their own little take on it. It seems like it's evolved over time and this and that. And like, nobody really knows where it really came from. Is it a pagan thing? Is it, you know what I mean? So I kind of like that about it, that it's not just this direct, Bram Stoker came up with Dracula. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not so direct like that,
Right. It's sort of like the idea of there being a Santa Claus is that, we have this good guy who comes around and gives stuff to the good kids. And so that's all very uplifting and fantastic. But then they always say there's a naughty list and a nice list. And so what is the naughty list really about? They've brought it down to just like, to take the Krampus out of it, it's like you get a lump of coal. You just don't get your presents and stuff. But it makes sense that at some point in time, there would have been the viewpoint of, no. If you're bad, you don't just not get Christmas. You get the opposite of Santa. You get the guy who comes and basically punishes you for not believing or for not being good. And that we always try to create counterpoint to the things that we have. If there's good, then there should be evil. And that's sort of what Krampus is. Now, it goes a little bit more into making it the Santa opposite in this than I think that what it originally is. Because while Krampus is there and he's kind of coming after the family for, being dicks at Christmas, essentially, there's a lot of things that don't quite make sense other than, like, this is what you expect from Dark Santa, is the island of miscreant toys, the teddy bear and the robot and the angel that goes on the top of the tree and all these things that are turned with a demonic twist. And then the elves show up and break into the place. So it's very much just like the dark side of Christmas.
But speaking of that, like, and that's where the movie kind of takes its own liberty with things, because when you read into the story of Krampus and everything like that, like the real thing, there's never any mention of like fucking demonic toys and shit like that. But the cool thing I did like about it is they did though keep a lot of things that were real to it, like the carrying of the sticks and different stuff like that. And that goes back into the old folklore of Krampus, because like part of the story was he used to whip kids with a stick if you were bad or whatever, and then he would drop one off that was made of gold if you were like a good kid, but it was there just to remind you, like, this shit can turn to not gold and I'll whip your ass with it. Yeah. And then there was some of those I was reading, like an Icelandic folklore or some shit, where he was like, they talked about like Krampus would put you in his fucking sack, because he had a sack like Santa has a sack, but he would put the kids into the sack and then fucking take them with him. And then it got into all this shit about how that had to do with, like, it was this coping thing for like slavery back in the day, where they would like take kids and for slave ships and stuff like that. Not in the American sense, but in the old, European sense. Just some crazy shit that went along with this goat-headed fuck Krampus, man. Like, I was glad they didn't bring that into the movie, but I mean, it was kind of strange, man, and it kind of almost made Krampus a little bit cooler to me. I wish I would have kind of read that stuff before I actually watched the movie, because the movie kind of took a little bit of a more campy, obviously, approach to it or whatever. But I did like the way the chains were also another thing that was like real to like the original, the real Krampus or whatever, real air quotes, Krampus, like European folklore Krampus, that the chains were supposed to be something that like they thought maybe had to do with like how Satan was held down, by Christians to be taken to hell or whatever with chains and everything like that. And that was kind of like where that was taken from and everything. So it was pretty interesting. They still kept that in the movie. So they kept Krampus. And then the tongue was another thing that folklore actually said, that he had the long winding tongue and everything like that, which was probably, in my opinion, the creepiest part of the movie was that fucking little tongue thing that flipped out and shit. Although it looked fake as hell, but it was still pretty
super fake,
sick, right? But I think it was like purposely fake, right?
Well, I mean, there were things that looked really particularly good, and I like the different creatures that they created. The animation for when the grandmother is telling them about how Krampus had come back when she was a child. I mean, they did it sort of a stop motion look and feel, which felt like the classic. I can't remember the name of them, the Ranco or whatever animated films that they did, like Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Baby New Year and all that stuff, that they did those stop motion things. So this kind of had that kind of feel to it, except much darker. And maybe it was a little bit Tim Burton-ish too. But then when you see things like the gingerbread cookies that were coming in attacking them, the different toys that were created, a lot of it looked really well done. And then you get Krampus himself, and his mouth is always frozen in the one position. So it's a non-moving mask. And I don't know if that was supposed to be like he was wearing a mask over his face, or if they just didn't bother to animate it. It was a little strange that was like, that's your main creature. And for the most part, we either don't get a good look at him. When we do get a good look at him, it's almost the weakest design or execution of a design in the movie.
And he never fucked anybody up. That was the other thing I noticed. His minions kind of fucked everybody. I mean, I guess, at the end when he's dropping them into what is hell or whatever you want to say it is. But I mean, his minions were the one that fucked everybody up.
Yeah, we never see him actually doing anything. We see him when he first is chasing the daughter when she's trying to walk over to the boyfriend's house, and he's jumping from roof to roof. And he looked similar to the creature in The Frighteners in that scene, the way that he moved. But we never, like, anything that he did was not on camera until the very end, which is just basically like, here, I'm going to let you go, and I've taken your whole family. Now you're the one who's supposed to go tell everybody. And then the kid asks essentially for forgiveness, or is willing to sacrifice himself to get his family back, and he's just like laughs it off.
Yeah, did anybody get an Evil Dead vibe from like the Gingerbread Man and everything like that? Yeah. I kind of got the way they were giggly and everything like that. Kind of got a little bit of an Evil Dead vibe from that.
Like little mini ashes.
Yeah,
after the mirror broke.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's not only a Krampus festival in Europe, but
there's multiple ones, like all across in different places.
There's a Krampus parade in Philadelphia every year.
There's one in Chicago too.
Why haven't we gone?
Because fucking just got into Krampus.
Damn it! It was 2 days ago.
Krampus virgin. It really was 2 days ago. You want to know what's really funny too? Is that tonight is Saint Nick, and this is when Krampus comes.
Yes. You know who else? You know who else comes today? Black Pete.
Yep, I was waiting for the Black Pete reference.
You don't know? Do you know about Black Pete?
I don't know. I don't know Black Pete. But it sounds racist. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
you're not wrong. You are absolutely. I mean, it's not. It's one of those things that it's not intended to be racist, but it's also one of those things that time has not treated it well, because the whole point of Black Pete is that his face is so covered with soot from coal from going through the chimneys and stuff that it's essentially blackface.
It's just white people who paint their face brown and then run around.
Yeah, it's a bad move in today's world to do the Black Pete thing. But it still exists because it's a tradition. Some traditions can go away.
What's the story of fucking Black Pete? Is there a quick version of this? I got to hear what this is. I've never heard of this before.
He's an assistant to Santa. He basically brings candy and stuff. It's not that he's a bad dude. It's just it's a bad interpretation. It's like some of the characters that used to hang out with the superheroes that are like totally racially not good examples of like, hey, we're gonna give Green Lantern and a young Asian boy as a partner, and we're gonna really stereotype up the way that he looks and stuff. And that's kind of the Black Pete thing. Is like at one point it was cool, but it's really not cool.
Yeah, he either comes on the 5th or 6th of December and basically brings children candy when he visits schools, stores, and other places. So it's the same thing as like what we do for Saint Nick.
Okay. But it was okay.
It's just blackface.
Wow, never heard of that before.
And people are already freaking out about a black Santa at the Mall of America, which is just Oh, just fucking bullshit. Jesus Christ, man. Let Santa be Santa. He's a black Santa. He's bringing kids joy. Let him bring kids joy. There is not a goddamn thing wrong with that.
There's no proof that Santa's white.
Exactly. And I just say, hey, all those pictures you have of white Jesus? Yeah, maybe this makes up for that a little bit.
Yeah. Middle Eastern. Anyways, Nate, there's the Martyrs Fest Martyrs' 4th annual Krampus Fest was December 3rd in Chicago, which would lead me to believe that Martyrs' 5th annual Krampus Fest will be next December in Chicago.
Where we'll be at on December 3rd.
Oh,
or
fuck
4th
yes.
or 5th. Yeah.
Where the hell? Krampus Fest? Martyrs? Oh, Martyrs is a bar? And they encourage costumes.
And there is a Krampus beer, by the way.
Yes.
It's probably not just one, but there's definitely Krampus beer, and I know that you like to find the beers.
Fuck, I forgot to do that. I don't think I've seen it yet this year. It's not like really hard to come by. When it's out, it's pretty easy to do.
No, I've definitely seen it like Bevmo and stuff.
Yeah, Bell Biv.
But I haven't looked. Yes, exactly. They like to have their beer and then they smack it up and they flip it and they rub it down. Oh no.
I don't even know what to say to you right now.
I got nothing for Bell Biv.
Yeah, it's Motown Philly, yo.
Christ.
So this movie, it's kind of weird because it has a sort of sweet family story in the midst of everybody in the family is being assholes. It starts out feeling quite a bit like Home Alone. Is that it's like all the family members are just dicks. They're just total and utter dicks. Everybody's pissed off. Everybody's in their own little world. And in Home Alone, Kevin was like a dick too, but he just felt like he was getting the short end of the stick and everything. And this Max is actually a really sweet kid who still believes in Santa, still wants to send his letter off to Santa. The cousins find his letter and start reading it, and all of it is about like, I wish you could make my parents fall in love with each other again. I wish you could help my aunt and uncle out. I wish you could help my cousins, have better relationships with their dad, that kind of stuff. So it's sort of sweet. And then it goes into like people legitimately start getting killed and taken and stuff. And it sort of is unexpected because it's almost like it's going to be, oh, well, it's a horror movie, but it's not really a horror movie. But shit gets really dark. And I don't think I was ready for that.
I didn't, the whole, when you're talking about at the table, when they were reading Max's letter, that was where it kind of started to make me feel like, okay, this story is lacking a little bit because I was getting no relation to the characters from that other than Max. Like the two little lesbian daughters were just fucking awful. Just awful, man. And like the thing is though, is like the dad and the mom seem like they love Max and everything like that. Like they're cool with him or whatever. And these daughters are reading this thing that's like personal shit, like to the 10th degree about his family. And they're just sitting there like, just listening. And the sister next to him is sitting there just going, Max, now don't freak out. Max, now don't freak out. I'm sitting here like, the fuck? Like Max has to freak out. Like what the hell? I'm like, where are the parents, man? And I'm like, that makes me sound like I'm like one of those, like, where are the parents when these things are going on? But
and the parents are all sitting there listening to it.
That's what I'm saying. The parents are sitting there listening to this. Like, if that was my kid, I'd be like, hey, shut the fuck up. Like, give him back his goddamn letter. You know what I mean? And I'm not like Ward and June Cleaver in my house. And I actually watch this movie with my 13-year-old son, if that tells you something. But it is PG-13, so he's allowed. But my fiance, it was just, she's like, this is stupid. Like, I'm out. Like, right around that time. And she went and watched something else in the other room or whatever, which doesn't overly surprised me. She likes things that are a little more intellectual than it, but I just felt like that was where the story kind of left me a little bit, man. And then when the daughter, like shortly thereafter, Corey, from where you left off, takes off to go see the boyfriend. First of all, I'm like, if my daughter comes up to me and says, hey, I'm gonna go see my boyfriend during this fucking literally lights out blizzard, I'm like, the hell you are? Like, what are you? No, you're not. Sit your ass down, And they're like, okay, that's fine. Off she goes, and as soon as she opens the doors, it's like, all this to walk up the road. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And then she's gone missing, and the dad's like, well, wait until the morning and the snow breaks in order to go find our daughter. I'm like, if that's my kid, man, there could be hellfire going on outside the house, and I'm like, I'm going out, and either we're coming back together or I'm dying too, because that's my kid, you know? So the fact that they were so nonchalant about it was the one thing too, where I was like, it made it hard for me when people started getting off to have any sort of personal relationship with any of these characters outside of Max, and maybe the grandma, because she kind of, I felt like, stole the scenes because she was, whenever she was in them, because she was kind of eerie about her or whatever. And like you said, when she was telling the story, I loved the way she told the story and everything too. Although she spoke German and then English, but then German again, I don't know, like that kind of threw me off a little bit too. So I just thought the characters were kind of lacking for me a little bit.
Well, Omi seemed like she was really into tradition. And so it seemed like she could speak English, but it wasn't really what she wanted to speak, because the traditions mean a lot to her. The way that she was raised and her heritage and everything all meant something to her. And so it was cool that the other members of the family, the immediate family, like understood her, like knew what she was saying, could reinterpret it and everything. But no, I agree. The whole family starts out very unlikable, but I think what this movie does is it shows them get to step up to things as it starts happening. Like when the dad, Tom, and the uncle, Howard,
obviously Christmas Vacation, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Like blatantly.
But when they go out and they start searching for the daughter, for Beth, like, and then they run into actual serious shit going down. And it seemed to me like, oh, this is going to be the point where Howard's going to get pulled off and Tom's just going to let him go because they don't get along, and Tom's just going to be able to save himself. But they don't. They have Tom step up, and then they have Howard recognize it. You know, Howard apologizes in his way, like saying, "Yeah, I always thought you were a little bitch," but you know, that's just his way of how he's going to apologize. But he actually does show some respect back. And the family does start to unite on certain things as it happens. But it's at the same time that they're dealing with all this loss and all these things that are way outside of their control. But you're right. If it was my daughter, I grew up in Michigan as a teenager. It's like, yeah, there's a blizzard outside. So what? I'm going over to my friend's house. That's just how it was. That was the reality. It's, you don't shut down in the middle of a snowstorm, you know, no matter how bad it is, because you just never get to do anything.
I don't know, man. I grew up in Wisconsin, and if the power's out and it's like crazy as fuck outside like that, man, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm probably not going to let my kid who's a teenager go walking over to her boyfriend's house at that moment. You know what I'm saying?
It may have been different because I was a boy.
Yeah.
But I was also raised by my mom and my grandmother. And that's not fair, but that's the reality. And certainly, absolutely, you know, in the 80s. And plus, when I grew up, like, kids did fucking crazy shit all the time. That's how we were. But yeah, the moments of like, okay, I'm really worried about our kid, we should go find her. And there, yeah, you're right. There's no way I would stop at that point. I do think that there's something to be said for someone being the voice of reason, of saying, hey, but how much good are you actually going to do? And Keckner's character says, like, we were out there 4 minutes and I'm already getting frostbite. I'm showing signs of actual damage to my skin because of how unreal it is out there. So they do have to develop a plan. But there's developing a plan, and then there's waiting it out in the house while your kid may be stuck out there frozen to death in the snow. So you're right. It's not exactly realistic in that portion of it. I just think that a lot of characters turn around a little bit.
Yeah, it just got. I mean, at that point, I was already kind of like, I don't give a fuck if Krampus cuts you up. Like, I didn't really care at that point. As long as Max and the old lady are okay, then I'm okay with it, kind of.
And I feel like that's kind of what I expected, is that it was going to be a lot of just totally unlikable people that you want to see Krampus kill. But I feel like over time, I became more emotionally connected to them, because they started to show weakness. They started to show caring for each other. Their desperation and pulling together as a family. I started to feel like it was like, why is Krampus really coming down so hard on them when they're growing, they're improving, they're showing that they don't just think of themselves. You know, they're trying to make things work together. And so it was like, I'm surprised that these people are still getting offed when they're actually showing growth. But that's kind of what kind of movie is this? Is this a movie that's just a parable? That's something you can show your kids? or is this a movie that's a horror movie that it doesn't matter if you're a good person or not, you can still get taken away? And that's why the baby gets taken away. That's why the dog.
Which also with the baby, no one really got too pissed off when the baby gets taken away. Did you notice?
Oh, the mom was trying to run right out, and I think the dad did run out after it.
But there was no hysterics though.
Right.
It came back. It was just like the daughter came back and go, well.
Yeah, he was young. You couldn't be that attached to him.
True. I don't know. And then the other girls the lesbian girl couple gets eaten.
I don't think they're lesbians, by the way.
I don't know, man.
They're sisters.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's absolutely not. But I don't know that I don't know that either of them were identifying as anything like that.
I'm pretty sure they were lesbians.
Oh, maybe
they were. I'm pretty sure they were. But I mean, maybe not. I could have been wrong. But my radar was going off. I'm just saying. Yeah. Oh, and the one other thing that I thought was funny. Did anybody think that, how Krampus would go, I'm assuming it was Krampus would go underground. Like, did you not Bugs Bunny? Did you not think Bugs Bunny?
Oh, yeah. Bunny. Absolutely.
Okay, so Corey, we're like here on a lot of these things.
The whole fucking thing is just like, he's just pissed off because he made a left turn at Albuquerque. And he was trying to
saying. But he's gonna do it, I'm like, swear to God, pop out or something, because that's fucking Bugs Bunny. The way the snow goes up exactly the same way and shit. It was, I thought that was great. That was in one of my notes or whatever. That was, So there's all those little things that kept the movie not quite scary for me. I didn't really feel like it was overly scary, If
I was going to put this at a comparison, it would be closer to we recently reviewed the original Gremlins. And I think it's like the first Gremlins. It's not like the second Gremlins, which was all comedy. It's comedy in certain parts, but it's dark. I mean, it goes to a point where
it's a great comparison.
The creatures become violent and people actually die in some horrific ways. And I think that it's scary when it wants to be scary to break up the comedy and vice versa. And I think that it worked well as that kind of movie. It's just that neither of those things is exactly what I was expecting when we started watching it.
So then getting to the end, what'd you think about that?
I like that it ultimately wasn't a happy ending. Like at first when he wakes up and he goes downstairs and everything's all hunky-dory, at first I was like, cool, I'm glad that he got what he wanted, but this is fucking stupid. And then it like pans out and you just see Krampus room full of snow globes, which you're assuming is every kid that ever wished that their family would have a normal Christmas, that Krampus went and fucked their day up and then put them in their own snow globe.
Yeah, I really like that aspect of it when the snow globe happened, because I agree with you, Matt. Like as soon as it was like dream sequence, I'm like, oh no, don't fucking take the easy route out and just be like, oh, now it's all a dream and I can wake up from it. But then when I saw a snow globe, I was like, okay, that's slick. That was pretty fucking eerie. I like that. The only thing that I didn't like about it is I was like, okay, well then Grandma's story of what happened with Krampus is completely fucking different then, because
she didn't fight for anybody to come back.
Is that what it was? I mean, I kind of thought that, but I was kind of like, am I just grasping at things here to put some kind of, but she said everybody died. You know what I mean?
She said everybody died, which happened in this too. Like everybody died. The only person that was left at that point was his one cousin, but he was trying to save her. And Krampus was like, you go, I'm letting you go. You're going to be the warning, which was the same thing that happened to his grandmother. And he's like, no, I don't want to be the warning. I'm telling you, I want my family back. I'm sorry that it's my fault, and I will give you myself to get everybody else back. And Krampus basically laughs it off and makes it seem like, well,
I'm
tough
killing
shit,
you
kid.
too.
Yeah, exactly. But in the end, that was the push of like, that is essentially what it was, is he sacrificed himself, where the grandmother didn't do that. I don't think that she felt the strength that he did to go and try to protect everybody, her family and everybody in her town. She just accepted that that's what it was. So he broke it because he went further than she did. But
then he got the snow globe treatment then.
He got the snow globe treatment.
So Krampus is pretty much a dick no matter what.
Krampus is not a good dude.
No, I'm either going to off all you motherfuckers and you can go, or I'm putting your ass in a snow globe.
Yeah. I mean, is the snow globe actually they're all captured in the snow globe, or is the snow globe like he's captured their pain and now he keeps a watch on them the same way that Santa keeps a watch on everybody.
I felt like it was going to be like a Groundhog Day scenario where they're just like fucking stuck in the snow globe and like that's their life is like this constant like waking up every morning to this kind of shit.
I would think
that's just where my brain went.
But they wake up to Christmas. They wake up what is the day of Christmas versus the same day over again.
But
like,
I feel like
all their opening gifts and stuff.
But they all knew about Krampus when it insinuates that they all had the same dream, right? Because when they saw his little gift, they're all like, oh snap! Like they all knew
that what they felt and what they experienced and they had now written off actually did happen. It was a warning to all of them.
I felt like it was then they're going to run out of the house now and then be like, oh shit, we're in a snow globe. Like this is possible. Where we live now. This is
it's open for interpretation, definitely.
Yeah. It was vague, but I feel like that was more the I guess maybe the more twisted side of it to me was just kind of like, dude, you live in a snow globe. Like that's fucked up. You know what I mean? Like Krampus is like, dude, fuck you. You're all in a snow globe. You wanted to be together with your family, you can be together with your family, but on my terms.
At least it's warm. Maybe the Wi-Fi is working again.
It's true.
That's all that matters, man. That's all I give a shit about. Is there food? Is it warm? Is there Wi-Fi? Is there indoor plumbing?
Pornography.
Yeah. How much more do I need? Well, yeah, that's implied.
But what if racist Black Pete is constantly coming down the goddamn chimney?
Well, then he brings candy.
It's true. He does bring candy.
He brings candy, and then you curb stomp him like American History X. He just
wait. I think that was racially motivated.
I will racial him back. So this movie was written or co-written at least and directed by Michael Dougherty. Michael Dougherty did and is doing the sequel to the Trick or Treat movies, which we have talked about. I don't know if we ever watched Trick or Treat. We keep talking about it whenever we were talking about Trick or Treat before, but I know that we've both seen it, and that's that series of 4 horror shorts that take place on Halloween with a little kid in the sort of sack mask with a candy bar.
I've seen it, but we've never done it.
No, we haven't done it yet, and I think it's one of those things that we keep talking about getting to.
Probably.
But it's a solid film. I mean, it's one of those things that is pretty good, and came along. It's one of his first actual directing gigs. I think it was 2007. All of his stuff before that was like he did a TV episode somewhere in a short about 10 years before. So I think overall, this is kind of a solid backup to that. It's just, is he going to keep going with holiday themes? I guess one of the things he's got coming up is he's doing the second Godzilla. But between Krampus and Trick or Treat, that's some good horror flicks to have under your belt.
What I mean, Krampus is that Universal or what was it on? It was on it was major release, right?
It was. I mean, I remember getting advertised quite a bit last year when it was coming out. I don't know how well it did.
Right, because like I was saying, I watched it with my son, who's 13, and he was really pumped to see it. So even he knew about it, and obviously he's 13, so all he knows is pop culture. He doesn't know a lot of obscurities or anything like that. You know what I mean? So did he even knew about it? And there's a sequel. Did he do the sequel then? Because I saw when I was grabbing this one that there was a Krampus 2.
I know there's a lot of other Krampus movies. So I don't know if that's in this series. Answer your question, it had a $15 million budget and did $61.5 at the box office. So it did pretty well.
There you go.
Yeah, Krampus the Devil Returns, I don't think is a sequel to this movie. It seems like it's another one entirely.
Because when
it came out in 2016, but it talks about stuff that happened 5 years before.
Oh, okay. And it was called Krampus 2, though, right?
It's also known as Krampus 2.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I thought I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be 5 years after the murder of his wife and disappearance of his daughter, former police officer Jeremy Duffin is brought back to help in the hunt for the Yuletide monster. So, completely different. They should stop fucking making movies with the same name and sequels at the same time.
It's tough because that's the whole point of something that's based off of folklore is that nobody owns it. It's once stuff goes out of the ability to be copywritten. That's why they keep doing things with Alice in Wonderland over and over again, and that's why so many Disney the animated films on up are all based off of things that don't exist under copyright, so they can make their stuff. They can do Kipling's Jungle Book over and over again, and they can do Snow White and all the stuff by the Brothers Grimm, because that's free story, and you can do your interpretations. But that's why we'll see these things happen over and over and over. Why every fucking 5 years there's another goddamn
tell us how you really feel,
Huckleberry Finn and another Tom Sawyer, and it's like, let's just keep doing this shit because nobody wants to come up with original ideas anymore.
Right. Let's do zombie video games.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not much better.
Full circle.
Although, at least the two zombie video games we talked about are almost polar opposites of each other. So I think that's kind of
and you could say Resident Evil is one of the originals of doing that kind of genre too.
exactly.
Yeah, it's been around forever.
So they can kind of keep going in. You can't really say them.
Yeah. Resident Evil is the original gangsta of zombie video games,
For sure.
if you will. You guys want to rate this? I'm really excited to get into our brand new rate scale. Rate, not rape scale.
How's this
Yes.
work?
Boom, boom, boom. Similar concept, except kind of reworked it a little bit. We're calling it the FAP scale. Get it? FAP. Yeah. We're gonna do it still on three little ditties, 0 to 5. The feature, which is the story, the attention, which is your rewatchability, and then panic, which is the scariness. I just wanted to use FAP. Fuck you.
I know you did. I know you did so bad.
I wanted to make a jerk off reference.
I mean, poor Matt had to sit there and try to spell a 3-letter word and then come up with what the letters meant. Good for you, Matt. You're getting a star on your paper this week. We're gonna put it up in the fridge.
Yeah, I even used a thesaurus to figure these words out. Put a lot of effort into this shit. Fuck you. So let's go ahead and we'll do the first one, which is our feature on a 0 to 5 scale. Nate, as our probably not esteemed guest, you get to go first.
So feature, what do you mean by that?
That's the story itself. What
The
did
story
you think?
itself?
Yeah,
I'd give it a 3.
fair enough.
I give it 3. I liked it, but I just felt like I said, character development, some of those kind of things is you talking kind of like story isn't script of the actual movie itself.
Yeah, not necessarily the Krampus story. Cause
Then I'd go 3. I would go 3 on that. Yeah, I feel comfortable with that. I liked it, but I just felt like there's a couple things where I would have kind of written a little bit differently or whatever.
yeah,
If people are getting off, man, I got to have a little bit of a relationship to them, and I feel like they didn't. They kind of lost me on that. For me to really like feel involved in it,
yeah,
Yeah, it's sort of like Friday the 13th more than it is like more modern horror movies. They try to get you to feel connected to the characters, but it used to be that here's just a whole bunch of people, and
Right.
you kind of, some movies were meant to allow you to enjoy seeing them be killed because they were unlikable. And then other movies were like, no, this is the final girl, or this is the person that you want to see survive it. And it's a suspense of whether or not that person's actually going to get offed. And who do you root for? And this, I think you're right. They introduced a bunch of unlikable people in the family, but that is sort of what has to happen to introduce the idea of Krampus into the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. I think as far as the story itself, you're right. They didn't develop them enough to make me both think that they deserved it and then also care about them coming out of it. I think that they started to get there, but it wasn't quite 100%. And people don't instantly grow. So, yeah, I think three's right.
That was a really long-winded answer to say 3, Corey.
That's how I do things.
I will follow suit. That's true. I am a sheep to the society. I will also give it a 3 because I just follow people. I don't have a good explanation. It's 3. It's a decent.
That's why you're the third one in the human centipede chain.
Oh, damn it. Next up, we have attention. How well did it keep your attention? How willing are you to rewatch this? 0 to 5, Nathan.
I give it a 4. There was there's something about it, honestly, that was very endearing into this movie. It was one of those things where I felt like I should really hate this, but not hate it, but I should really think like this is kind of lame,
Mhm.
kind of like my girl did, where she's saying, okay, this is lame, and she kind of dipped out. But then it kept my attention the whole time, and some of the campiness about it, I actually enjoyed. I felt like it was different. It wasn't like everything else, even though that they ripped off a lot of little things in there. I felt like it was kind of like unabashedly ripping it off. Like, we're going to kind of rip this off, and you're going to get this, that we're kind of doing this, but we really don't give a fuck. We're purposely being this way with this movie. And I liked it. I liked the differentness about it. It kind of kept my attention. Like, where is this going next?
Mhm.
So I actually, just some of the funny parts, everything like that. There was certain parts of this movie that could be made into, like, Matt, like you and I are buddies who hang out outside of, any of this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things about it that I could see becoming those little jokes that we have between us that are Krampus jokes. And to me, then that makes the movie have rewatchability because of those types of things, So yeah, I'd actually give it a 4. Surprisingly to me, it's not my kind of movie really, but actually, yeah, there was a difference and a campiness about it that kind of stuck with me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Corey.
I completely agree on the 4. Like I said, I was looking forward to watching it again, having watched it last year and getting to revisit it. And I think part of why it worked is because they introduced so many different kinds of creatures and things that they get to fight as they're trying to protect themselves in their house. Introducing the different kinds of toys, the gingerbread men, Krampus himself, the elves. It varied it up enough that you never really got bored. If it was just Krampus kind of stalking around and grabbing people, then that's just a boogeyman type of scenario, and we see that so much. This at least introduced enough different things that I think it kept it interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3.5 simply because I didn't want to also agree with you guys on this one because I'm my own man. But it's a really funny movie, and it's definitely one that I could see, like, if you're sitting around drinking with people and you're like, oh, you gotta fucking watch this Krampus movie. It's actually funny. You don't really have to pay attention to it to be able to follow the story. There's just funny parts. And you don't need to, like, know the Krampus story to get it. Because it gives you a broad overview, but it gives you enough to know what you need to know to understand the movie.
If you live in Colorado or California or any of those other places and their policies or whatever, I'm just saying, and you were hanging out with some friends in these legal areas and everything like that, this movie would actually be pretty fucking good. It'd be pretty fun, man. Just saying. It would create for a fun night with some buddies. That's for sure.
I agree. The last we got is our panic scale. This is how scary the movie was to you on a 0 to 5, Nathan.
Well, this is where I kind of dropped down a little. This is where I would give it like about a 2. I wasn't really, there wasn't the jump factor. There wasn't really much of that or whatever. I don't know. It just didn't do much for me. The only reason why I even really give it a 2 is that some of the like Corey was talking about, there's the different creatures and stuff like that. Like the what do you call it? The snaky thing, the clown
Jack
snake.
in the Box?
Yeah, Jack in the Box thing that ate people like that. It was kind of eerie looking. I thought Krampus's face with the tongue, like I said, was kind of eerie looking. So that's why I kind of give it a 2. But I was never really, there was no part of me, and I'm a wuss for this shit. The last time I was on this podcast, I was saying that, you know what I mean? Where I'm kind of like, man, I'm one of those guys that, like, for a day or two afterwards, man, I don't really like going to my basement by myself and stuff like that. Because, I can punch and I can kick good, but you can't punch and kick ghosts. You know what I mean? And like, for Krampus though, man, I mean, I would have went right down to my basement, man, in the dark and been like, okay, like, I hope a gingerbread man fucking tries it. You know what I mean? So I wasn't really all that scared. So I kind of go 2 on that one. But I don't think they were going for it wasn't trying to really completely freak you out. You know what I mean? It wasn't going for any shock or anything like that. I think it was just supposed to be sort of just creepy, and that was it. But not scary creepy as much, just off kilter creepy, if that makes any sense.
Well, it's a PG-13 movie, so you kind of have to accept that there's not going to be a lot of really over-the-top crazy gore. But I mean, I'm going to go 2.5, and the reason why I'm at the halfway point, I agree with you. It's not super scary, but it's one of those things that I didn't expect it to be as scary as it was, or taken as seriously when the Krampus and the creatures start showing up and actually literally like killing and devouring people. There was some good tension when everybody's fighting in the attic and the aunt is trying to save her daughters and she's going after it. Like, there was definitely moments in there that it was taken more seriously than I expected when I thought it was a comedy. And again, it's right there with Gremlins. I think that it's dark when it attempts to be dark, but it's still lighthearted enough that it's almost like if you're just kind of like, if you're not with your family, like your parents and stuff, but you're with a bunch of friends and you're wanting to watch something as a Christmas movie around the holidays, it's a good pick because it's not going to bore you like watching It's a Wonderful Life. And I love Miracle on 34th Street. I have no quarrels about saying that, but I don't pick a bunch of friends to sit and watch Miracle on 34th Street with, because we all get it. You know, it's a heartfelt thing. You want to see something that's a little bit funny. You want to see something that's a little bit scary. You want to see something that's visually interesting. And I think that it hits all the marks on that. It
definitely has that kind of thing, right? Where that rewatchability, where you can come back each year because it's Christmas time and it's like, oh, let's fucking watch Krampus again. You know what I mean? In the season. Like, yeah, I agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah. I'm going to just give it a 1. I didn't really think it was that scary.
What about the dog?
What about the dog?
Well, when the dog got eaten, did you even feel bad about the dog?
Not really.
Usually that'll up your point a little bit.
Well, yeah. I do love dogs. It wasn't like a super angry pet murdery type feel to it.
No, that's true.
It was just, yeah. But that dog did fucking eat that gingerbread man. I thought it was hilarious. Dog's fat, so am I. A thing in common. Corey, you had fun doing the outro last week. I'll let you do it again.
That's not really my jam, but right on. So you can contact us by leaving us a voicemail at 805-328-3966. You can email us at PoT@gncast.com, or you can leave us a message on the website. You can also just kind of let us know what you think of the show. We appreciate feedback. We like being able to read our reviews on the air, but just in general, we just want to know how we're doing. If you like the show, if there's things that we can change. Do you like the new FAP scale? Matt's really proud of it, and I think it's actually, I was proud of him for coming up with that. I was excited because I knew he was talking about trying to change it up a little bit. But maybe you have suggestions of other things we can do for the show, so please let us know.
Like gratuitous nudity.
There's no gratitude for our nudity.
Get those nipples out.
That's hot. If people go to YouTube,
let me see your dandelions, Nate.
Missing out. Drown the lifeguard in nipple jizz. So you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Podcast of Terror. And you can also subscribe to us via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any of your favorite podcatchers, and leave us feedback at any of them. All subscription options can be found at gncast.com/subscribe, and you can join our Facebook group under Galactic Network. Now, Nate, here's where I usually tell people where they can find you, but I assume that it's just going to be in the front of the Human Centipede chain.
Damn right. Or listen to Drown the Lifeguard, Matt and I's band. You can always find me there because you can put in the disc as many times as you want to listen to it. Then you can find me every time there. Otherwise, Metal MMA Rounds and Breakdowns is a podcast that I am on, which we cover MMA and a little bit of music too. So definitely find me there.
I was hoping it was like metal working, like you made sculptures out of aluminum.
We are. There's some retooling going on, so I'm open for suggestions. We can add that in there for sure.
I thought it was just you like sitting there and drinking some rounds at a bar and then having a breakdown in your car on the way home. You shouldn't be driving. That's what Lyft is for.
Break down my shorts.
Now, Rounds and Breakdowns is coming back. You said
right.
It is returning.
It is returning.
Where are people going to be able to find that?
Matt, where do we find it?
Matt,
you used to handle.
That's true.
You used to handle. What, you just hate us now or something?
No, never. It's still on Stitcher, Google, iTunes, anywhere you can get podcatchers. It is a Blazing Caribou Studios production, so you can find the past episodes that we did, like a dozen of them before we kind of took a break and retooled it, and then I handed it off to Nate just because I don't have a ton of time. So
yeah, we're back and we have 2 guys that'll be joining me on the show. One is an accomplished Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner who also competes, so he's going to have some great stuff. The other one trains in Muay Thai kickboxing at Rufus Sport, which is amazing gym out of Milwaukee where Anthony Pettis, for those of you that know about these kind of things, UFC fighter, trains out of. Tyron Woodley, current welterweight champion, blah, blah, blah. He trains there. So those are the two guys who will be joining me on that podcast. So there's some good knowledge if you're into martial arts, boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, that kind of stuff.
Fuck yeah. And they have a Twitter and what is it? Metal MMA Pod? Emails metalmmapod@gmail.com. I know there's an Instagram too, Metal MMA Pod.
Well, you can definitely go find more information at pleasingcariboustudios.com.
Yeah.
A lot of really great people on that network, friends of our network, friends of the show, just friends in general. They've got a lot of great content beyond that, but definitely check them out. And you guys are saying that you are in John the Lifeguard together. Do you have any kind of music that people can find?
I mean, you already know the answer. So
I do.
You're worse than my wife.
But I listened to the last episode, so it's easier for me than maybe new potential listeners.
You can find our new EP called Electing Parasites on drownlifeguard.bandcamp.com. We have a shirt print. I think we're doing another one here soon. You can also buy physical copies of the CD there as well. We have a Facebook. You can like it there. Instagram. We have a Twitter, but Facebook is updated the most.
Makes sense.
You could do that, yeah.
And the music is available digitally through all the regular channels and stuff too.
Yep, Bandcamp. It's on Spotify. It's on iTunes now. It's on Sirius XM Radio.
Google Play.
Did you find it there? You're usually my Google Play guy.
Yep, I checked it out for you. I was looking for it.
Thanks, buddy.
So it's a kick-ass album. It's called
Electing Parasites.
See
what we did there? It's a 5-song EP. Electing. It's EP. I'll see myself out. Corey, where can people find you?
You can find the comics that I help publish at don'taskcomics.com. I tried doing a little bit of writing. I've got some older stuff on my website at captaintemerity.com. I have a new story that I'm probably going to put up there pretty soon. I've been hoping to get some feedback from some friends. Probably the wrong time of the year to get that because nobody's responded. My wife liked it. My wife says I'm pretty.
I think you're pretty.
You're gorgeous.
Thank you.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Matt the Lifeguard. I think that's going to do it for us. Make sure you go subscribe to Rounds and Breakdowns. Right, meow. But Nate, thanks again for coming to hang out. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, guys. I always love coming on your podcast. One of my favorite ones to listen to, too.
Thanks, man.
Except when you... I just finally listened to the one with Matt Vincent. The last meeting with Matt Vincent. It took me a couple of times to get through all of it, but that was a fucking adventure. So if anybody's just new to this podcast,
don't go to that one.
Picking certain little ones to dive back into or whatever, go to the last Matt Vincent one.
Matt Vincent ones are just such a huge experience, anyways. And thank you for the opportunity to bring him up because he's dealing with some health stuff right now, and we want to wish him the best.
Yes, and I know he probably won't listen to this, but if he does, Nate, and I are going to be in New Orleans. So,
oh yeah,
I'm gonna let him know. He mentioned if I ever made it down there, he'd try and come out, but yeah, let's get super uncomfortable drunk in public.
That's inevitability.
Yeah,
I'm feeling anything you wind up doing with Matt Vincent is going to make it super uncomfortable for him.
For him, man, not me. I'm fine. Anyways, thanks again for listening to another episode of the podcast here, and we will talk to you guys next time. All right. Corey, you're supposed to send Ashley your writing.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. She said she wanted it. She could probably contact you via the ways that you mentioned that you could contact people.
Well, I mean, Ashley and I are actual friends now. On
whoa.
Facebook
I'll just get out of your friendship way. Fucking pussy. You, not her. I like Ashley. She's nice.
No, Ashley's fucking awesome.
All right. I'm going to stop YouTube so we can make fun of her then. I'm just kidding, Ashley. I have to wait like 45 seconds for the delay to see what she has to say. No, seriously, I'm going to stop iTunes so we can do our things. All right. Thanks for watching. I think Brandon's still around. Brandon might not be here. Either way, thanks for hanging out, guys. We will see you next time. If I can find the stop button. There it is.